lit under them, because if they don't respond soon, they're going to be heading into February knowing that unless something drastic happens, they probably won't be playing in March. This team is ranked 100th in the latest edition of the net rankings. This is not a team that's close to the NCAA tournament right now. It's now or never for this team. You got to turn it on. And if they lose this game, it's going to be pretty hard to rebound, because there's not many other chances that you're going to have on your resume with the way that you've looked so far this year to get good wins. Because we've kind of said it to ourselves. Do you really, if we're being honest, do you really think this team's going to beat Virginia? No. Do you think this team's really going to beat Duke? No. Do you think this team's going to beat Louisville? No. I mean, anything can happen, but these are the types of games you got to win. I think they'll know that. They've got to just, can we please get Andrew Platek back healthy is all I'm asking. The depth at guard right now is just wildly thin. And, having a guy back like that, granted, not the greatest player, but another guy that can come in would be huge. I'm really interested, like you are, to see what Jeremiah Francis can do, because so far in his 2 games as a starter, he has not looked good out of the gate. He has had to hit the bench and come back on before he's really started to play. So I'll be interested to see if he responds and can really get a good start, because he didn't do it against Yale and he didn't do it against Georgia Tech. And they kind of need him to come out and play the way he can play as a guy off the bench as a starter for them. And again, we talked about the guys inside. Look, this is a Pittsburgh team that is not big. They're not great at rebounding. Their leading rebounder averages just a little under 6.5 boards per game. This is your chance to come out and dominate on the glass. You need to do that against Pittsburgh. I think they do that. I think it'll be a close win. I'm going to stop telling you the margins, because clearly that isn't working this year.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say, look, Carolina comes out and wins. And look, if you don't think that this is a big win, if Pittsburgh can do what they did at a conference and just find ways to, win the games that they probably should, outside of their one glaring loss. They've already had that in conference with Wake Forest. This is a team that can make the NCAA tournament. So, yes, if Carolina wins this game, you better believe that this would be a big win. Won't be one that you'll put on the resume. Won't be one that you're going to look back years from now and say, remember that game? But it's going to be one that will be huge for this team if they get the W.
It's a big win because it's a big game, because it's the next game. And I know that's a cliche statement.
Thanks, Coach.
This team has to literally go. It is not week by week. It's not, we want to see where we're at after 6 games, after 8 games, after 10 games, where we stack up. It is a game-by-game process with this unit, because you're not as veteran as you were a couple years ago. You don't have a Kobe White on your team like you had last year that gave you a shot most nights, no matter the opponent. So, yeah, it's a big game, and it'd be a big win if they find themselves in the win column. All right, we're going to wrap this up with our Beat the Buzzer segment.
Welcome to Beat the Buzzer.
With this, we're going to let Anthony kind of close this part of the podcast out. He's going to talk to you about some of the guys in the NBA that are having some success that played for Carolina.
I have been called into action, and I am ready to go. So, yes, Carolina really they haven't had much success on the Dean Smith Center floor so far this year. But look, some of the former guys really starting to play well. Theo Pinson, in his last 2 games, averaging 11 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for a Brooklyn Nets team that is really needing him to step up. Kyrie Irving has been out with an injury. Of course, Kevin Durant not playing. So that team really just kind of falling off the face of the earth as the season has kind of progressed. Having Theo step in has been pretty big. And, it's always nice seeing a guy like Theo, who is a really hard worker and really has just kind of bounced back and forth between the NBA and the G League, really get a chance here. So, you look at his overall numbers for the year. Look, he's played in 24 games for the Nets, so not bad. Averaging 4.7 points per game, 1.8 rebounds per game, and 1.9 assists. So really kind of the same role that we expected he would carry in the NBA that he carried at the college level, and it's good to see that he's really playing well. Harrison Barnes, man, he went off against the New Orleans Pelicans, although who isn't going off against that team, because that team is god-awful, including Brandon Ingram, who is trash. Wanted to throw that out there on this podcast because, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he is complete trash because he went to Duke. There you go. But as for Harrison, 30 points on 9 of 12 shooting, and 2 of 2 from downtown. And, look, I mean, one of those guys that, I think a lot of people were always kind of questioning why he keeps getting some sizable contracts. I mean, look at his numbers this year for a Kings team that it continues to sort of steadily improve. Not one of those teams that's going to kind of blow you away, but so far this year, 15.7 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists, having a really solid year for the Kings, and is trying to help them to stay competitive in a Western Conference that is, once again, just the absolute strength of the NBA. It's been for so long, and that's no different again this year. Speaking of the Western Conference, one of the guys that's on the best team in the Western Conference, Danny Green, 25 points on the Pelicans. What would you expect? They were the Lakers the other night, plus 27 with him on the court. He had 6 threes in that victory, so he's really playing well this year off the bench for the Lakers. 8.8 points per game, has 3.6 rebounds, 1.3 assists, and also, of course, as you guys know, always bringing it defensively. So he's going to have a chance to get another NBA title, go back-to-back this year on a really, really good Lakers team that is pretty much what we all thought they were going to be. As for Kobe White, he's really been turning it on as of late, and look, averaged 18 points per game this week on 15 of 29 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3. And look, he had a really good game against the Hawks, but also had a really good game against the best team in the Eastern Conference, or one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Them and the Celtics kind of keep changing places against the Milwaukee Bucks. So, Kobe is a guy that, look, he was one of the most exciting draft picks, it seemed like, in terms of the fan reaction when he was drafted last year. He's turning into exactly what we expected he would be in the NBA. He has had a really good start to his career in Chicago and really seems to be what that team needs him to be. 11.3 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, and 2.1 assists per game. Some of the other guys that are in the NBA right now, Tony Bradley actually getting some run with the Jazz so far this year. He's played in 25 games, 4.2 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game. Reggie Bullock, he's been a spark plug for the Knicks coming in. He's played in just 3 games so far this year due to injuries and some off-the-court stuff that happened, a couple of family deaths. Of course, still wishing Reggie the best with that, but has really come in and helped what was a lifeless New York Knicks offense to become a team that now, looks at least entertaining to watch on television. Not a team that we expect to compete anytime soon, but still a team that is a little bit more interesting to watch with him on the court. So far in those 3 games, 9.6 points per game, and is also doing it on the glass with 1.7 rebounds per game. Vince Carter still in the league. His farewell tour just continues. He's played in 30 games so far for the Hawks this year, averaging 5 points, 2 rebounds per game. I wanted to throw this out there, and I know that, whenever we do this, we try not to kind of talk in the segment with the other person. There is somebody that suggested yesterday that they don't believe that Vince Carter is a sure first ballot Hall of Famer. The ludicrousy, right? Because I wanted to get into an argument, but I felt it wasn't worth it, just seeing some of the other responses that they were coming up to some of the other people that were responding.
Yeah, look, this isn't the NFL where it's always dictated on what you did in the postseason. Look at the first guy to play in 4 decades, won a gold medal with the team in the Olympics, has that dunk. He's arguably the best in-game dunker the game has ever seen. Mm-hmm. He took a Toronto franchise to the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals. Went to the Finals with the Nets. So this is a guy that longevity is going to win out. There's not as many great players in this era that are going to go over him. And it would be an embarrassment if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like that person's tweet is an embarrassment to a Twitter account.
To Twitter.
That's why there needs to be a vetting process for who's allowed on Twitter and who's not, because that person not allowed.
All right, so some of the other guys, Ed Davis, so far this year with the Jazz, hasn't really done a lot scoring-wise, but is averaging 4.3 assists. Wayne Ellington with the Knicks, only played in 19 games, has just averaging a little over 4 points per game, not really doing a whole lot else. John Henson still in the league with the Cavaliers, 4.3 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game for a team that is just kind of walking through the motions like Kevin Love is doing. Then you got Justin Jackson. He's on a very interesting team with the Dallas Mavericks so far this season, contributing a little bit, 6.3 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game. I'm rounding while I'm doing this, and this is why I am not a math major. Cam Johnson off to a pretty solid start to his career in 33 games with the Suns. So far, 8.3 points per game and 3.1 rebounds per game, as for Nazir Little, played in 26 games, 3.3 points per game, just a little under 3 rebounds per game. And then Marvin Williams, still hanging around in the league with the Hornets, 33 games played, 7.3 points per game, and also contributing a little on the glass with just a little south of 3 rebounds per game. So that's it for the look at the NBA. Still a pretty good year, and of course we always love when Roy's going out to see the guys. He actually went out and finished the rookie tour the other night when he went out and saw Nazir Little play against Vince Carter and the Hawks. So that wraps it up.
All right. Well, thank you for going through and updating all of us on heels in the NBA. And so that's going to do it for this edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. But before I let you go, got to talk to you about HeelToughBlog.com. You're going to hear us start pushing this a lot more because our ability to share in Facebook groups has pretty much been restricted until next or later in this year.
Yeah, Facebook hates us, man. It's tragic, really.
So, look, guys, just check out, go to the website, HeelToughBlog.com, and you're going to find all of our great content basketball-wise. We'll have a preview up for the Pitt game. Of course, you can go back and read about Georgia Tech if you want, and we'll have recaps up following the game against the Panthers. And as basketball season moves along, of course, we'll be right there with keeping you updated on all the stuff Carolina basketball, even some more opinionated articles will find its way to the website as the season moves along. Football-wise, we're in off-season mode, but there's still news coming out about Carolina football. Mac Brown hired his new special teams coach yesterday. Anthony's got an article up about that. Daz Newsome and Chas Surratt, both guys coming back for 2020 and what figures to be an exciting year for Carolina football. Anthony wrote about that and what it means for next year. So check out everything we got going on HeelToughBlog.com. You can become a subscriber, where we can subscribe you, so you can get mailing list, or you can join the website, and that way you'll get all of your stuff, whether it's in your email, download the app, it'll send you notifications. Every time we put something on there, you'll know where to go. And before we let you go, got to talk to you about subscribing to the podcast. We're on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you name it. You can find us there. Give us a like. Give us a review us individually, review us together as co-hosts. We'll greatly appreciate it. But most importantly, we want you to hit that subscribe button. That way, whenever we post an episode, you get it right there in your podcast feed. That's going to do it for this edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels.